They said it couldn't be done. Where I'm from, you couldn't do it. All I hear is blah, blah, blah. You blew it. The money ain't everything society got you talking stupid. While I'm up at 2 a.m. listening to debt-free screams and reading from TurboTax and Intuit. It's 3 hours sleep, then back to the prosperity of the grind again. I must pursue it. The mentor's voice hits me like acoustics. They say I'm slipping, but check it, son. Money steps ain't no new shit. The numbers in math don't lie. It's my debt payoff at 1.5, hon, a clip. So you can't dispute it. My bones tired and so does my spirit. But I can't fathom the thought of me losing. I'm from Malcolm X Memorial. I'm about movement. I'm about getting money, hater. I don't need your 2 cents. You struggle with financial structure, but want to criticize my blueprint. I'm back in the game again. No collectors will call again. It's me and myself and I again. No debt, I swear. Never again. I'll be all right. What's going on? My name is Shane. My subscribers know, if you're new to the channel, my subscribers affectionately know me as K-2. What you just heard was a poem in my financial journal documenting my journey along the way from going from $40,000 in debt in 2013 all the way up to 2017, March of 2017, going debt-free. The poem you just heard was written in March of 2016. 1 year before I went debt-free in March of 17. I have documented, like I said before, documented my journey along the way, and I'm at a point where I am very proud to be a part of the YouTube community, those out there who are sharing their wisdom, their knowledge, what they learned going through the debt-free process and being debt-free and improving their financial health. I am one of those people now. I am proud to be a part of that group to reach out and help the community, help you guys out, and help my family members out to increase their knowledge of financial literacy and hopefully along the way and improve their financial health. I created K-2. K-2 was my personal stamp on my financial life, guys. It's a strategic game plan I came up with to get myself out of debt and to build wealth. But I had to understand the I in me so I can tell my money what to do. Understand the I in you so you can tell your money what to do. You have to start there first before you can move on, right? To improve your financial health. Now, just like I'm very proud to be a part of this community to helping people out, I want you guys to understand personal finances is personal, right? If anyone tells you anything different, don't listen to that. Run for the hills, all right? Now, there are some financial laws in place that everybody should follow, right? There's no disputing that. And I'm going to give out on this video, guys, I'm going to give out some financial laws that all of us, if we're going to win with money, with our finances, all of us have to partake in. All of us have to follow. But I'm also going to give some personal lessons I learned along the way. On this video, you're going to hear some financial laws about winning with money, but you're also going to hear from my perspective. If personal finance is personal, you're going to hear my personal stamp on how I got out of debt and how I'm building wealth right now. And as I go through this video, guys, I want you to kind of vision in your own mind which is going to be your personal stamp on your financial health, right? All right. So during this video, you're going to hear, phrases like build your bodyguard. Welcome to McDonald's. How can I help you? And one of my favorites, romance without finance is a damn nuisance. You're going to hear that later on in the video. So stay tuned. And welcome back to the K-2 Financial Health Channel. Good to see you guys again, K-2s. If you're new to the channel and like what you're getting ready to hear, during this video, I'm going to ask you to do one important thing for me. It's to share this very valuable financial health information with someone you care and love. You believe they can use this information to their advantage going long term. Who knows? Maybe you can too. We're going to break off into it. Before I break off into it, I want to give one announcement. For those people out there waiting for my next $500,000 ticket, $500,000 net worth challenge, it's coming up, guys. You got to stay tuned. And this one is not going to be your typical. This one's going to be a little different. Give it about a week, 2 weeks. You're going to see something a little different. I got a surprise for all you guys. not just grinding and working. It may, this whole journey may require a couple vacations here and there along the way, right? It ain't just grinding. You got to have a little sense of yourself a little bit and see that, hey, look, you got to take a step back every now and then, right? To appreciate your fruit of your labor, so to speak, right? So this one, guys, this update, this $500,000 ticket, 7-year, $500,000 challenge journey that I'm on, you may see a couple video clips of vacationing. Who knows? But I'm just throwing that out there. No matter who you are, and there's nothing. It's not all these principles, all these laws and lessons I'm getting ready to talk to you guys about. Nothing else comes close to this one. Always, always, always spend less than you make. The money you earn, subtracted by what your living expenses are, the difference, right? The money you earn, subtracted by your needs, the difference is the money you're going to have left over to do what? If you're young, I would say, in my personal opinion, I would say invest in yourself, right? You're going to hear along your financial journey, you're going to hear guys like me on YouTube and other social media platforms talk about the 3 things that made most millionaires in the United States over the years. That's been a business, stock market, and real estate, right? But for me, it's important to talk to young people about investing in yourself first. Because what does that mean? You're going to invest in you first. You're going to invest in making sure you're equipped to go out to the job market, to hit the job market, for example. Right? What does that mean? Whether you're, increasing your knowledge, on your particular job field, your particular field of study, you're going to, look into maximizing yourself, learning all you can about what's important to you, right? What are you good at? What can you be good at that you can monetize, right? And then take it from there. That is investing in yourself. You may go back to school, get to learn a trade. It may take extra money that you have left over from your earnings, right, to invest in yourself, for classes, for learning a trade, for example, going to a seminar, right, investing in a mentor, investing in a particular field of study, for example, right? So I think for the young people coming up, it's important for me, for my personal opinion, to invest in yourself. And then down the road, you can invest in, a business, for example. Then you can invest in real estate. Then you can invest in the stock market. But I think you have to understand yourself first. This channel, guys, is about K-2. Understand the I in you, okay? So you can tell your money what to do. The next law to great financial health is build a bodyguard. And what does that mean? Well, let me tell you something. A recent survey says 60% of Americans said they could not afford a $1,000 emergency if it happened to them. Think about that. Build a bodyguard. What does that mean? No matter if you're in debt or if you're not in debt, everyone needs to build a bodyguard. And that bodyguard is an emergency fund, right? The worse the economy gets, the worse you look around and you take a stock of your reality, the worse the economy gets or the worse your environment gets, the bigger your emergency fund should be, right? Traditionally, we always say, everyone, every couple, every single person should have 3 to 6 months of emergency fund in place. The worse it gets, you should look for a year's worth of emergency, all right, to cover yourself. And again, that's going to vary by personal finances, personal guys. That's going to vary by individual. That's going to vary by couples, households, so forth and so on. But you get the point. You should have something in place in case something happens. Murphy's Law. Shit hits the fan. The storm is coming, right? Always have something in place for you to protect yourself. And that something is an emergency fund, okay? Now, where do we put the emergency fund? There's great places out there you can store an emergency fund. Traditionally, having an emergency fund in your big bank, for example, your main bank account is not advisable. For me, myself, and I'm not your financial advisor, guys. I'm not your financial coach. I can't tell you what to do. I'm just giving my personal opinion, my side of how things look in the financial world. And from my perspective, I think there are some great accounts out there. High yield savings account is one of them, and a money market account are two great places to have your emergency fund. They offer better interest rates than regular banks like Wells Fargo and Bank of the West, for example, U.S. Bank. High yield savings accounts and money market accounts traditionally offer, and it varies. It varies in terms of how the market goes, but they traditionally offer better interest rates. And that's why I would keep my emergency fund. The next law to good financial health for everybody is a dream without a plan is just a wish. What does that mean? If you were to get in your car right now and drive to California, if you were to get in your car right now and drive to Florida, if you were to get in your car right now from Texas, you drive to New York, or you're from Texas and you drive to Seattle, Washington, what are you going to need? What are you going to do first? What are you going to look up first? What are you going to put on your phone? You're going to use GPS? Get in your car. You put in GPS. What does that mean? What does that stand for? That's having a plan. That's having a plan and you're taking action. You're thinking to yourself, well, if I'm driving from Texas to Seattle, I'm going to put in the coordinates where I'm going, right? Into the GPS. That GPS is going to take me where I need to go. You're taking a plan and put it in place, right? You're adding the stuff to the GPS. You're adding the coordinates to the GPS. And what are you going to do? GPS is taking action. You're driving there. You're taking action. That's what great financial health means, is having a plan in place and you're going to take action on those plans, right? A dream without a plan, guys, is just a wish. Anybody that tells you different is on bullshit. You have to have a budget in place. You can call a budget anything you want to call it, right? You can take a pig and put lipstick on a pig or makeup on a pig, but guess what? It's still a pig. You can change the wording around and call a budget anything you want to call it. Call it a plan. Call it a blueprint. Whatever you want to call it. But you have to have a plan in place. And usually that plan in place, guys, ain't no way around it. It's going to be called a budget. So you budget your money, which means you projecting how much you're going to make. And you're projecting before you get your money, you're projecting how much you're going to spend, right? And part of that process is having some money left over so you can plan to invest in yourself or invest in, for example, real estate, business, or the stock market, or any other thing you can invest in that's going to benefit you for the short term and long term. Another great financial law, guys, to enhance your financial health is always pay yourself first. And what does that mean? I thought back in the day when I didn't have any financial literacy, guys, that, the feds come in, take your taxes out of your paycheck, and that's it. You get the rest of your paycheck. But what I learned along the way in my financial health game, in my financial literacy game, was that there are certain avenues you can take to lower your tax burden, right? There are certain accounts you can have to lower your tax burden, right? There are certain accounts you can have that when you pay yourself first, and then the feds come in and take your taxes after that, right? They get paid second, you get paid first. And one of the things I learned along the way is that you can put your money in your, let's say, for example, you got a job and that particular job has a 401k, for example. You can participate in that 401k and you're paying yourself first. They take your 401k money out first, that goes to your account, even before the feds get to taxes. You pay yourself first. That money comes out of your paycheck first, right? So it lowers, instead of you getting taxed on, $60,000, you're going to get taxed on less than that, right? For example, just for example, guys, you may get taxed on, 58, 57, 50, 55, whatever it may be. In other words, you're going to get taxed. You're going to lower your tax burden by them taking the money for your 401k off the top. Another account you can have to lower your tax burden is, and there's more accounts out there, guys. There's other avenues you can take, but these just two for an example, right? So the 401k, for example, and also the HSA, health savings account. And I know that because I have both of those right now. And what they do in the process, again, they lower my tax burden. And so that's another lesson that I had to learn, but it's a great financial health law that everybody can participate in, that everybody should be aware of, okay? Banks and credit cards, particularly if you don't have any financial literacy, are not your friends. It is expensive to be poor. It's expensive to not know about finances. It's expensive to not know how to tell your money what to do. And banks and credit cards love you if that's you. They can be great associates, but not great friends. And what do I mean by that? Remember that guy back in college that was always on when it came to parties, right? You need a good party to go to, just hit him up. He can tell you where to go around town, around campus, right? He was always on when it comes to parties. Not a good student. He couldn't be your friend all the time, right? Because that's not what you were all about, right? He couldn't be a good friend because he was always at parties. If you knew about parties, he can tell you. He can be a good associate, but he couldn't be a good friend. Same thing with a bank and a credit card, right, guys? They can't be there for you all the time because you know what? They don't have your best interest, guys. You benefit them by being uneducated on your finances. You benefit them by being poor. You know, you put your money in the bank, what they give you? What's the rate of return? It's not good for your money to be stuck in the bank because guess what? If the cost of living, right, inflation, for example, is 2 and 3%, where you can see your money's going to get eat up if you're only making 0.1%, not even 1%, 0.1% in a bank. So you're actually losing money by keeping your money in there, right? So according to bankrate.com, it takes, if you were to have the normal credit card balance, like most of Americans have, which is a little over $6,000, if you were to pay the minimum amount on that credit card, it would take you 18 years to pay that thing off. And guys, I don't know about you, but we don't have 18 years, right? If we're trying to build wealth, and a lot of us are in debt, remember, here's point zero, right? Here's ground zero. You're in debt, which means you got to get to ground 0 point first and then build wealth. We don't have 18 years, guys. And why do I bring all this up? This channel here is K-2. Here we understand the I and you, so you can tell your money what to do. When you understand who you are, you have to understand this fact. Some of us can't have credit cards. Some of us are better managing credit cards than others. You have to know yourself, right? And that's something I can help you with. You want to get a hold of me? I'll leave my links down below, how you can get a hold of me. You can have a one-on-one session with me. I give out volunteer time, guys, on people out there that may need my help. I'm a former counselor. I major in sociology. I do well in this financial health game. I have helped people along the way. All right? I volunteer. I don't have a lot of time. I volunteer a couple hours during the week to help people out there. It's my way of giving back, right? And so you're welcome to get a hold of me. I'll leave my personal email down below. But it's important for you to understand yourself. You may not be able to handle a credit card, but you have to know that about yourself. Just because there's credit cards out there don't mean one's got your name on it, right? And so that's why I bring this particular topic of conversation up right now. What I can do, you can't do. What you can do, I may not be able to do. So you have to understand those facts, guys, when you're in this financial health game. The next lesson I learned along the way is, and I wish I would have learned this earlier in my life before I got into my financial health journey back when I was 45 years old, is be kind to your future self. Hop on the time machine of love. But in order to do that, you have to utilize time, which is very limited in us human beings, right? You have to know that time is great for you, and what you invest in is what makes time great for you. What kind of things you invest in? Understand the terms of great financial health. What are some of the terms of great financial health? We just talked about one of them earlier, emergency fund. What are some of the things you invest in to take advantage of time? We talked about a few other things. Online savings account, right? A high yield savings account, money market accounts, right? You're going to get off into 401ks, Roth 401ks, Roth IRAs, right? Traditional IRAs, right? Brokerage account. All these terms you need to get down and take your time in learning, right? Google them. Turn off the TV, turn off the radio. Have the kids go over here. Have the kids go over there. Tell your mate, hey, I can't get with that right now. I got to learn this, right? After your job, study in your car, whatever you got to do. Learn these terms, because these are going to be your terms of great financial health. When you get into your great financial health space, hey, I'm not your financial advisor, guys, and I'm not telling you what to do. I know for me, those things I just mentioned to you were very important in my financial health space, because all those things I just mentioned to you guys, I have all of them working for me. And what did we just talk about, right? 401ks, right? Investing in, brokerage accounts, IRAs, Roth IRAs, investing into the stock market, right? Well, the next thing, guys, is what I learned along the way, and one of my lessons along the way is, look, assets, those things are assets. Assets is not all about the stock market, not all about money, right? Not all about those accounts. Assets are things you do even before you get to that stage. You need to break down. One of the things that I helped people with over the years, and they came to me and I would talk to them. I've sat down and talked to people about their finances, and I've covered this particular lesson. And I help them evolve mentally on this process, right? When I say assets not about money, you understand what are the assets in your life. What are the most important assets in your life? We talked about you being number one, right? You are an asset. Well, take a piece of paper, write down all the potential assets you have to benefit yourself going long term, to benefit yourself going short term, to benefit yourself to learn more about financial literacy, to benefit yourself of getting out of debt, right? To benefit yourself on how can you manage your finances and tell your money what to do. Write down all the things you think, you believe, or that that are assets in your life. You, right? If you got a job and great benefits, guess what? That's 3. You, your job, and great benefits, right? Because it's those great benefits you can use to benefit yourself going long term. I gave an example a few videos ago about when I was getting out of debt. I used my jobs, my great benefits of my job. Well, if I had 4 or 5 weeks to start the year of vacation time, during the year, I would use my vacation time. I would take time off, but instead of taking vacation like everybody else, I worked during my vacation. So it added, it's not just one paycheck, it added another paycheck, 2 paychecks to attack my debt, for example, right? A few videos ago, go back and look at that few videos. Maybe I'll put it down the link down here on this page here, but go back and look at my last couple videos and I'll explain that to you guys how I did that process. But your job, your benefits, let me tell you something, man. You'd be surprised what you think that's not a benefit, not an asset in your life, can be an asset in your life, right? Going not just short term, but long term. So many people out there will say, oh, I've got my kids. I can't do it because I got this. I can't do it because I have kids, right? It's more difficult for me. It's more harder for me. Sure, you can say that, but it's harder for me because I have kids. Flip it, right? Use your kids as assets, right? Your kids can be assets. Instead of thinking downward, think upward. My kids are going to go through this process. They're going to learn like me, great financial literacy, great financial health going long term. You use this situation to educate yourself and educate your kids. Involve them in the process. Talk to them about money. We're so scared about money in this country, aren't we? How is that going to affect? It affected me when I was a kid because I had all these negative, stereotypes, negative sayings about money. Flip it around. Change your financial health. Change your financial health tree, right? And bring your kids into the process, right? If they're teenagers, great. They can work with you, right? They can help you out in your budget. They can work as well, contribute to the household. They go work a job. They can take care of their teenage things and help mama, right, in the household, right? It's a great way for them to get involved, learn about money, learn about budgeting, learn about strategy game, right, in this financial game, right, guys? This is true game for all the single mothers out there, what I'm telling you right now. This is true game for all the single fathers out there coming up and don't know where they want to go and they stressing out. This is about their finances, right? This is great game I'm telling you guys about right now, right? Involve your kids in the process. Turn them into assets. Your car is an asset, right? Flip it. Usually, what are assets? Assets are things that put money in your pocket. Liabilities are things to take money out of your pocket, right? To take money out of your pocket. Usually, your car, people got car notes, for example, that's taking money out of your pocket. And what comes with a car? Insurance, maintenance, car notes, that takes money out of your pocket. Well, I use, in my situation, I can give you guys my example. I flipped it, right? I used my car. I paid my car off in cash, all right? Sure, I have maintenance on my car and insurance on my car. But what I do is I use my car, and this is just my example, guys. I'm not telling you what to do, you to do this. This is just my example. I use my car to go do gig work, right? Work apps, right? I use my car to go drive. I work for a contract to a third party and do deliveries for, Walmart and Sam's Club. So I turn my car. The money I make on that gig app, the money I work on, that I make on my 1099 contract work, I use that money and put into assets, right? Brokerage accounts, right? Roth RAs, maxing my Roth RA out, for example. That's taking the money I use for that. But where it comes from? My car. I have to have a car to go do all that. I turn my car into an asset. So flip things around in your life. Understand what are assets in your life, right? Living assets that you can turn to down the road, invest in real assets, right? Okay, more on assets. I want you to, when you go into this process, I want you to ask yourself two important questions. I had to ask myself two important questions. And question number one is your environment that you're around right now, where you're located, particularly location, which city, what state, whatever your surrounding situation is, your environment, who you're around, right? Who you choose to be around, who you choose to allow in your inner circle, for example, right? Is that a liability, or those things are liabilities, or are they assets? Two, is your mental mindset on money, is your money viewpoints on financial health, financial literacy, is that an asset for you? And you be real with yourself. Go to the mirror. Go to the mirror of truth, like I did back in 2015, and ask yourself, is your money mindset a liability or an asset? And when you ask yourself these two questions, you can't skate by it. You can't front. Ain't no capping allowed here. You have to be real with yourself. All right. The next thing, guys, is we talked about you. Your greatest asset before you get to real estate, a business, or the stock market, you is your greatest asset. What's the second most important asset? No, it's not those three things I just mentioned, right? Particularly you young people out there. Even more of these older people like me. I'm 58. If I was talking to an 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old, you know what I would tell them? It's even greater when you're that younger, guys, what I'm talking about. It's time. Time, other than you, second greatest asset is time. Because time will outlive you, right? Time is limited in human beings, but your money most likely add on to time will outlive you. Let me just give you guys an example of when you combine time with compound interest, for example. Let me just give you guys just a small example of what I'm talking about when it comes to time. And you add something like a component like compound interest onto it, you can see what I'm talking about. Let's say let's say you wanted to invest, right? Let's say you wanted to invest in the stock market, for example, and you had $0. That's why you decided to take $100 a month. You took $100 a month at the beginning of each month, $100, and you invest into the stock market. Traditionally, like the S&P 500, for example, you decided to invest in the S&P 500, the Standard & Poor's 500, which is the top 500 companies in America, right? The top 500 dogs, the big boys in America. You decided to invest in them. Well, traditionally, the S&P 500 has generated a 10% rate of return in its history, right? Now, I'm not your financial advisor, guys. Not telling you what to do. I'm not giving you advice. This is just basic knowledge, right? Now, the S&P 500, the past results don't equal future results. But let's just say from what we all know, you study this information, you can Google it. What I'm telling you is the S&P 500 has generated over his lifetime 10%. Let's be conservative, for example. Let's just say you took $100 beginning of each month, invest into the S&P 500. Let's just say instead of 10%, it generated just 7% over a 20-year period. Let's say you want to go 20 years. Every month, $100 a month for 20 years. Very interesting. You would go from $0 in 20 years, you would have $51,000. That's not the most interesting part. For me, at year 10, you would have $17,000. But year 20, you would have $51,000. You see how time adds to your money. The power of time, compound interest, working together, right? And that's why if you're young, you got the advantage over me. I started this process when I was 45 years old. If I can go back and do it now, one of my regrets is if I can go back and do it now, it'll be a whole lot different. I made mistakes along the way. If I'm talking to you and you're young, you're younger than me, you're 21, you're 25, you're 30, you're 40 even, listen to me. This can be great wisdom for you to take in, blood, right? Take it in blood, man. Don't look over what I'm telling you right now, man. And time is your greatest, other than you, your greatest asset. Because if you understand these two things, you and time, now you can get involved with a business. Now you can get involved with real estate. Now you can get involved with stock market, right? Because now you can let time, and time works the same way in the stock market as it does a business or real estate, guys. Let it mature. Let it mature and get bigger and bigger and bigger. But it takes time and effort, right? It's very interesting how initially your effort don't really look like it's building anything, right? Don't look like it's building anything, but it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Add time to the component of compound interest. After 15, 20 years, 25 years, it explodes. The next lesson I learned along the way, and what I'm getting ready to say right now seems very simple. It's going to come across very simple. And you're going, well, no shit, Sherlock, right? But in an age where the more people listen to on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, they make this financial health thing, financial literacy thing complicated. Make it seem complicated. Let's get back to the basics, guys, and go back to the future, right? Look, there's only 4 things to do with money, guys. Understand this going forward, and you keep it simple. Don't get all bogged down with all this financial health mumbo jumbo, financial literacy mumbo jumbo you hear. Always take a step back. Keep it simple. Remember, there's 4 things in my lesson to you. There's 4 things to do with money. The other 3 don't matter unless you the number one first. Number one is you have to earn it first. You have to go out and make it, right? You have to go out and make it. And what does that mean? Just like I mentioned before, you got to put yourself in great positions to make it. You got to put yourself in great positions to make it. Understand the I in you so you can tell your money what to do. But you got to understand yourself first. Know who you are, right? Know what kind of money hangups you have, right? Know what kind of money messages you grew up with, right? Understand yourself first and then invest in yourself, right? School, knowledge, learn, learn as much as you can. Read books, have mentors, right? Go on YouTube, go read as much as you can about things, right? But understand that you have to make it first and put yourself in good position to make it. Learn the process of talking to your boss about a raise. Understand that you want to stay at your job consistently, right? Don't jump from job to job. Once you get to your field of study, your field of greatness, do that job. Now, I'm not saying you got to stay at the same job for 20 years, but try to stay in the same field for 20 years, right? And stick with what you stick with, right? And that's why it's important to start out early and knowing what you want to do for a long period of time. You're going to stick with that. You may invest in their 401k plan. You may find a job that's got a matching 401k. You're going to take advantage of all that. You're going to get not tell you what to do, but tell you what I would do. I would do all what I just said to you. Have a Roth IRA, all that, man. Invest in an SHA, a health savings account. You're going to use that for your health going forward, for your co-pays, for example. But you can also invest in an HSA. An HSA have three great benefits that other accounts don't have. You learn more about an HSA, which I did along the way, just to give you an example, right? So, and then you can understand the three other things you do with money, which is spend, save, right? And give, right? And you should be doing a little bit of all of them, guys. You should be making your money. You should have a good proportion of money where you're spending, a good proportion of money that you're giving, and a good proportion of money that you're saving. And understand that just like I'm gonna be real with you guys, right? I'm gonna probably get some feedback, some haters out there that don't understand money, don't understand financial literacy. They want to talk about like everybody else talk, right? But I'm gonna tell you right now, just like you can spend too much, you can save too much. Just like you save too much, you can give too much. Yes, I said it. You can give too much. You shouldn't be out of whack with any one of those three things: giving, saving, and spending. You should use your mindset, your smarts, your intuition on all three, right? Don't just give too much, don't just save too much, and don't just spend too much, right? Okay, so the next thing kind of correlates, goes off with the things I've talked about before. But the next thing is basically the bigger the shovel, the more dirt you can lift. And what that means, the more money you make, the bigger financial mistakes you can overcome, right? If you're making a high income, you can overcome good, big financial money mistakes, right? You're making a high income, you can throw $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 at a pop at a financial mistake. And it's also, the more money you make, the easier it is to get out of debt if you get the right mindset when it comes to money. Okay? I had to learn that along the way. And what does that mean for you? Even if you're my age, or you're 58, you're 55, you're 50, you're 45, you're 40, you can learn these lessons along the way. Let these lessons be beneficial to you. But if you're young, oh man, if you're young, you got this mindset, you got it made. Understanding that when you're young, you go after what I talked about before. You maximize yourself. You maximize your abilities. You maximize your skill set. You use your whatever you got to invest in your schooling, invest in a trade, invest in increasing your financial worth for yourself. You increasing your potential money you're bringing in, but increasing your salary, increasing your skill set, increasing your money you're bringing in, right? Because the more money you make, The more money you bring in, the more you can put yourself on a good level to get out of debt, but also you can have a springboard. The more money you can make, the higher that spring, higher you can spring yourself into action when it comes to getting off to a good start on your financial health journey, right? And you have to understand that. You're right. You have to understand that. But let me tell you something, man. It ain't all about the money you make. It's all about what you keep. And what you keep is what you grow. There's a survey out there that says, I remember reading about it a couple months ago. It says something to the effect of 1/4 or 1/2, almost 1/2 of people making $100,000 or more, high income earners, they are living paycheck to paycheck. So it ain't about just making more money, right? It's about keeping the money you make, right? And so that's a skill in itself, guys. That's a skill in itself. So if you have a situation where you have a 9 to 5 and that 9 to 5 suits you, you're happy with it, you can make it work, but you want to go out and bring some more money in to help you get out of debt faster or to help you build wealth faster, right? Don't be afraid of things like work apps like DoorDash or the Spark app. Me personally, I'll give you a prime example. I have a 9 to 5. I have a full-time job, but I'm out of debt. I don't have to do it, but I do it. Why? Because I want to put more money into assets, right? I want to grow my net worth faster, right? So I not only have a 9 to 5, for example, I do a work app called Spark. I mentioned to you before. I'm a 1099 independent contractor. I contract with a third party, Spark, which helps me do deliveries for Walmart and Sam's Club. I use the extra money I make in those to have a good time, the vacation, and also I put most of that money into assets, right? And so that's what I'm talking about, right? Don't be afraid, and don't be afraid what other people think about you and say about you by doing DoorDash, right? Or doing an app called Spark, or there's other kind of apps out there, guys. But hey, go to it, man. I love seeing people out there are getting their hustle on, right? And ain't afraid and ain't ashamed for it, right? They don't have no shame at all. They don't let shame bring them down. They have no shame in their heart. They're out there to make money, and I love those kind of people. And the next one is something I learned that was very important for me, guys. This one here is a good one because it took me a while to learn this, and I had to understand this concept. Welcome to McDonald's. How can I help you? A recent survey says 70% of Americans think job titles are important. And what I had to learn along the way, guys, is no, job titles are not important when it comes to your money. Job titles are not important when you want to increase your financial health. Job titles are not, I'm not saying anything bad about them. If you want to be let me tell you something, guys. Young people, I'm talking to you. Please don't let what I say discourage you. If your inspiration in your life right now your aspirations is to be a lawyer or a doctor, great. Your inspiration is to be a CEO of a bank, great. Your inspiration is to be a football player or a musician or a rapper or a music producer or a Hollywood director, great. Don't let what I'm getting ready to say right now discourage you. I encourage you to do that. If that's in your wheelhouse, do that. If that's not going to wreck your physical health, mental health, your spiritual health, go for it. Don't let people out there destroy your dreams. Welcome to McDonald's. How can I help you? If it takes working for McDonald's to further your dreams, guys, don't let anybody deter your dreams by your job title. Don't let anybody destroy your confidence. Don't let anybody out there destroy your self-esteem, to knock you down, to slow your roll when it comes to increasing your financial health, guys. And don't you allow yourself to be put in that situation. Understanding out there, right? This didn't just start right now. This has always been the case. Don't you know there are DoorDashers out there and janitors out there making good money and living, and listen what I'm getting ready to say to you, and living, I said living better than doctors and lawyers, right? If you are making $500,000 a year, but you spend $501 a year, you're broke and you're losing on money. Don't you know, from my personal experience, let me tell you something, guys, from my personal experience. When I was in Minnesota, I knew a friend of a friend. He was a doctor, and I was making at least 5 or 6 times less than him. He was making 5 or 6 times more than me, another way to say it. And he was learning what I was doing in the financial space, learned that I was increasing and learning more about financial health, and I was making my way and doing better and better with my financial health. He pulled me aside, was picking my brain, and asked me how I was doing it. And the more I learned, the more I talked to him, I learned about his situation. He was making $300,000 a year, but struggling, living paycheck to paycheck. It's not what you make, it's what you keep. And what you keep is what you grow, right? And so understand that you can be a doctor and a lawyer, but you can be a broke doctor and a lawyer as well. And don't you know, what I said earlier is true. Google the case of Ronald Reed. He was a janitor. He spent some of his working time in his lifetime as a janitor. He spent then some of his working life during his lifetime as a gas station attendant. When he died, he had amassed $8 million. He had an $8 million net worth, guys, when he died. Now, some would say, well, why did he die with $8 million? Didn't he enjoy some of that money? That's a topic of, another conversation. But the bottom line is, for this topic of conversation we're having right now, he lived a modest life, normal jobs, $8 million when he died, right? So it's not your job title that's going to drive you. It's not your job title that's going to increase your net worth. It's not your job title that's going to enhance your financial literacy, enhance your financial health, right? Understand. It's what you do in that particular job title, earn that money that's going to enhance your life, guys. So I really take a step back and really feel as a society, particularly here in America, we view one segment of the population more important than others. I hate that. I don't think nobody's important more than anybody else, right? So if you got a great job title out there, you're a CEO, you're a COO, I'm not hating on you, right? If you're a doctor and lawyer, you aspire to that, great. I got those in my family. There's no shade I'm throwing at you, right? But you know more important than anybody else. Just because you got a job title don't mean you are the king shit, because you can be losing when it comes to money. And that's what I care about, right? So just understand, guys, particularly if you're young, right? You can be a street sweeper, you can be a janitor, you can be a door dasher, and trust me, you can be a route driver like I am and living a whole lot better life than some of these people with great unquote, quote unquote, job titles. All right? True that. I go back now and think that I'm a former football player, and where I'm from, my hood, we had the ideology that how do we make it out of the hood? We had a thought process, either you're going to play football, basketball, baseball, you're going to get out of the hood from where we're from, you're going to get out by playing sports or being an entertainer, right? By rapping, for example, singing, right? Those are the limited ways we knew, guys, to get out of the hood. When I was coming up playing football, my whole thought process was to get to the league, I idolized Deion Sanders. Like I said, I played the same position, cornerback in football. I got a scholarship to college to play college football. I was a decent player. I was striving to get better. It just didn't work for me. I didn't make the league. It wasn't the cards for me, right? But I think back now, man, in hindsight, I really think about this, guys, that I could have just skipped it all along, right? I could have went for all of what I know right now, man. It'd be hard pressed for me to make that decision right now, because I would just go from college or from high school, skip college, and go straight into working. and what I know right now, how I can, tell my money what to do, how I can tell my money what to do, what I can invest it in and make money, for example, put in, certain asset classes, I would go straight from high school. I really believe that. Straight from high school to working, any job, right? So your lifestyle and the way you live is not going to be about your job title. It can, but it don't have to be. The next thing, guys, I would tell you that I learned along the way is learn while you earn, then focus on returns. And what does that mean? Learn about financial literacy while you're out making money. And what I just talked about before, it don't matter what job. If you're young, even if you're older, go work. Go bring home the money. Go bring home the bacon. And then you can decide what to do with the money, what to do with the bacon, right? You focus on those kind of things. You learn about yourself. You learn about money. You learn about your money hangups. And like I said before, you learn about the messaging you learn when you're growing up. You learn about how to decipher that. You learn about some of your highs and lows when it comes to money. Your spending habits. Your spending habits may be when you're tired. Your spending habits may be higher when you're sad, when you're down and out, when you're bored, for example. You may spend more money. You need to learn about yourself. Understand the I in you so you can tell your money what to do, right? Then you go about learning more about financial literacy, reading books, magazines, YouTube channel, right? Go to YouTube channel. There's a smorgasbord of people on there like me speaking game about financial literacy, reading books, taking seminars, getting mentors, right? Investing in yourself, for example, right? And then you can move on to other things, right? You got to understand how this works, right? Learning about the things we talked about before, but expounding on that, learning about compound interest. What is compound interest and how can it benefit you? Learn about how to go out and about making your money grow. And then you can focus on the returns. Don't ever invest in something you don't understand, right? You only can focus on returns when you go through this process I just told you about, right? Learn as you earn, then focus on returns, right? Once you know about money, once you know about financial literacy, you know about compound interest, you know about certain asset classes and accounts you can put money in, then you can focus on returns. Then you can focus on how you make your money grow, for example, into the stock market. Then you can learn about how you can enhance yourself in the business. Then you know about how you can put money in real estate to make it grow, right? But it's a process of this, it's levels to this, right? By knowing more about myself, by telling my money what to do, I had to understand myself first. Even me right now, my financial health is a whole lot better than it was back in 2013. I'm at a greater stage right now of knowledge, but even me, I don't invest in cryptocurrency because I don't understand it, right? Now, I have to read about it, get in tune with it and learn about it, but you're not going to be great on everything, right? And you have to understand yourself. I understand myself. There's no way I'm putting money in crypto right now unless I understand it more, okay? Let's just give you guys an example. All right, guys, so the next one, being an ex-football player, I'm going to give you a football analogy so you can get a perspective of what I'm talking about is when it comes to the financial health game and learning more about your financial literacy is the best offense is a better defense. What does that mean? It's when you first start out, and I need to be more in tune with this. If I can go back right now and be more in tune with it, but I would protect the money I did have, right? You protect the little bit about amount of money you have right now, because how are you going to protect bigger money when you can't protect the smaller money? You protect the smaller money so later on you can go out and manage the bigger money. That requires understanding protections in place. You have a car, you should have a car insurance. You rent an apartment, you have furniture in that apartment, you should have rental insurance. You have kids that are 18 years or younger, you should have life insurance to protect you. You work in a job, you work in a stressful job, you work in a physical job, any job that's mentally stressful, you should have health insurance, right? to protect you and your family members, you and your wife. You should have health insurance. You get the point where I'm going. Okay? All these insurances are in place, right, for yourself, right? Including long-term disability insurance, short-term disability insurance, life insurance, a will, estate planning. All these things should be in place. All these should be in place for everybody to protect yourself. All those scenarios I just gave you, okay? And we can break it down even further. Dental plans, HSA plans, plans for your eyes, for example. All these things are in place, right? To protect yourself. Talk about emergency funds, for example. All these things to protect yourself. When shit hits the fan, Murphy's Law come calling. Murphy's Law says if you're not prepared, right? Something's gonna happen. If something's gonna happen, you're not prepared, then you're ass out of luck, right? So, right? So it's best to always be prepared and always play defense, right? Let me tell you, there's times when I was on football teams, man, I've been on great defensive football teams, right? And our defense was so good, we would give the ball, we would stop the other team. The other team would go 3 and out. 8 times out of 10, we would stop them. We would give the ball back to our offense. I've been on teams where we had great defense and our offense was just average, so-so. But us being so good on defense, we would give the ball back to the offense and, more times than not, right? Law of averages, you know what I'm saying? No matter how bad you were on offense, if you get the ball back more than the other team's offense, most likely, law of averages, you got to do something with it, right? Right? So we had a better record on average because we had a good defense, right? The more times you give your ball to the offense, they can't screw it up that many times. Sooner or later, they're going to score a touchdown or we're going to kick a field goal. Our score usually is going to be higher than other teams' score, right? For example. All right? So it's the same with your finances. It's the same with your learning about your financial literacy. It's the same when it comes to you increasing and getting better at your financial health. The more you protect yourself and your money now, the better you can protect and manage your money at a later state, right? How many times have I seen someone frantic on the side of the road when they're trying to make money, trying to get to that job, trying to get to that 9 to 5? They're stuck on the road because they don't have no roadside insurance. They don't even have any insurance and no money in the bank as an emergency fund. They're stuck. They're stuck. Now they have to call somebody. They're late to work. They're going to be later to work. You got to call somebody to come get them. And your emergency is not somebody else's emergency, guys. I've been in that situation before, and I made a point to tell myself, never again. And it's hard. It's hard to, I've been there before. You ain't got to tell me. You're sitting there saying, well, K-2, man, it ain't just that easy, right? We gotta have I got a car note. I got to pay for the car maintenance costs. I got to pay for this high-ass insurance and gas to get to work, take care of my kids. I get it. I understand it. I've been there. I understand it exactly. It's hard to understand you put money in, let's face, for example, car insurance, health insurance, house insurance, right? It's hard to understand sometimes. It's hard to get that concept of trying to get ahead when you got to take care of insurance, right? And you keep putting money in, but there's no benefits coming back to you. I definitely get it. I understand it. But it's a hard thing to go through. And initially, it's a hard concept to understand. Because what's going to happen when you get paid and you're not making enough money, for example, or you don't have enough money left over from your paycheck, right? You're going to take care of the bills. You're going to take care of the light bill. And you're going to take care of food. What's going to be left out? Car insurance, right? I understand it. When the cops stop most people around the United States, what's the first thing they ask you for? Registration and insurance. You know why? The police forces across the United States, guys, know that 7 out of 10 people in most cities, particularly most urban areas, don't have car insurance. They know this. They know this. And that's what I'm talking about. A better offense is the best defense. Okay? So take care of what you got to take care of. Again, you can't take care of the big money if you can't take care of the smaller money, right? So get used to managing what you do have so later on you can manage a bigger portion of what you do have. Romance without finance is a damn nuisance. According to Google, financial issues is one of the leading causes of separation and divorce in this country. So what does that mean? Who you choose to have in your life as a mate, who you choose to have in your life as a partner, someone you have a love interest with, or someone you give your emotions to, is very important. That can be a real good thing or a real bad thing. Real bad thing when it comes to personal finances, right? Your financial health, right? So if you're with someone and you've been with them for a while and haven't had these money talks, you haven't had your money story out there, you don't even learn your money story yet, you haven't had your financial health story told yet, you haven't learned about your financial health story, what is your money story? Have you had that conversation with her, right? Have you learned about her money story, right? If not, that can be a problem, right? Love don't pay the bills, guys. Love ain't paying that car note. Love ain't paying that electric bill when it's due. Love ain't paying that insurance bill when it's due, begrudgingly when it comes to you. When someone calls you, debt collector's calling you, you ain't gonna say, hey, I got a lot of love. My girl gives me a lot of love. Can I pay you with that? How's that gonna go, right? So if you're with someone and haven't had these conversations, let's say, for example, you're a natural saver. Let's say, for example, you get with her, she's a natural spender. How's that gonna go, right? Without these talks, right? I had to learn these things, guys. One of the greatest lessons I had to learn. Romance without finance is a damn nuisance, right? And this is why. If you continue to have these relationships without these conversations, you're going to be one of those stats I just read off, right? Earlier, right? So I had to learn these lessons, man. And the reason why, until I got my financial game down, I think I've told you guys this story so many different times, that I was by myself, single, on purpose for a long time, good 5 years, right? And there's a reason for that, right? And so even though I've dated through that time period, I kept it to myself and I was on my grind, man, because I wasn't going to get with anybody that was going to be, susceptible to one of these stats out there. I wasn't going to be one of those stats. And so I had to make sure, and then I will tell you guys, you young fellas out there, right? In the dating world, be very, very cautious and ask a lot of questions, right? Be very diligent in the dating process, right? Ask a lot of questions and let her understand. First of all, you got to understand your money story first, right? You can't move on. I would say my suggestion out there is don't even date. Don't even entertain the process of dating until you understand yourself, right? Understand the I in you so you can tell your money what to do first, right? Understand your money story. Then go about the process of understanding somebody else's money story, right? That'll be my suggestion. That'll be my wisdom out there that I'll throw at you young folk, man, out there, man. You got to do that. If you're dating someone, for example, you get to the process a little bit and you're dating someone and she says to the fact that, hey, Olive Garden and Red Lobster is beneath me. Hey, first of all, if you ever get to that point with a female, check yourself first, because your woman picker is off, right? So you check yourself first and then run for the hills and don't look back. That'd be my suggestion to you. Real life story, guys. It happened to me. Real life story. So I'm not throwing no BS out there. I'm telling you real game, right? So always, man, understand this very fact. Money and these kind of relationships without due diligence and communication and having your money story talk, romance without finance is a damn nuisance. And that's where you're going to wind up, being one of those stats if you don't understand that, right? Okay. And one of the greatest lessons I learned, guys, along my way was the money messages in my life growing up that I had to overcome. I grew up in a very divided, topsy-turvy life when it came to understanding money because I had a lot of mixed messages, right? And messages that held me back, right? What about you guys? Have you heard of these messages growing up? Money don't grow on trees. You can't take it with you. Money is hard to come by. Money's the root of all evil. Like that one, right? You guys have heard that one, right? And of course, money can't make you happy. I'm sure you guys have heard of that, right? So again, for me, I grew up in a very topsy-turvy life when it came to understanding money. Right? There's no surprise that I had a hard time, just like some of you guys out there, right? When we've heard stories like, hey, money don't grow on trees, but don't be no spendthrift, right? You can't take it with you, right? Money can't make you happy. Money's hard to come by, right? You can't take it with you, but damn, we need it right now. We got to pay that light bill, right? So all these things, guys, like a lot of you guys out there that were struggling with money. No wonder we were struggling with money when we hear all these mixed messages going back and forth, topsy-turvy, right? So, and I would say of all the messages that I just talked to you guys about, and you guys probably can tell me some as well. Hey, look, man, some of those may have been true. And for the ones who believed it back in the day, right? Before the times of the internet, smartphones, computer, right, information technology, information age, maybe some of that was true when opportunities, particularly in the inner cities across this country, right, in some of these ghetto neighborhoods, maybe that was true, right? For those who believed it back in the day. Some of this stuff, right, guys, is the decisions you make in your life, right? Let's say you make some bad, faithful decisions in your life and you wind up in a bad situation, right? We got to be very careful in 2025. I don't believe they're true anymore. What's your situation, right? If you're in a very prosperous city, right, those things are less true. If you're in a situation where you're in a downtrodden situation, you're around downtrodden people, and you have less opportunities, you have put yourself in bad situations with your decision making, right? Those things can be more true. But I believe it's situational. And I believe it changes over time. And I believe right now, if you're like myself, and I put myself in a good situation, in a good environment, in a good city, less toxic people, right? And being around more positive people and have the right mindset, right? And the right opportunities. Put yourself in a position to have the right opportunities. Put yourself in the right environment to have the right opportunities, right? I believe those things are less than right now in 2025. Now, I would say if you still believe in those things, you allow yourself to believe in those things, those mixed messages that we grew up, you allow yourself in a downtrodden, the self-fulfilling prophecy cycle of destruction, and if you're out here putting yourself in those positions, then you can be one of those mixed messages out there. You can believe in that you don't have opportunity. You can believe in the scarcity aspect of money don't grow on trees, right? Money's the root of all evil. When you believe in these things, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, guys, you'll never escape out of. And one of the things I had to do to understand the I and me in front of that mirror of truth I had back in 2015, I had to overcome. I had to have a conversation with myself. I had to come with these realizations. I was never going to get ahead financially if I kept believing in that stuff. I was never going to get ahead, right? And so I say to you out there, particularly some of you young cats out there, right? Don't be afraid to be weird. Don't be afraid to go against the grain in society because you know what? What is normal? Broke, right? Frustrated, crying on your pillow at night, right? What's normal? Trying to impress somebody. Trying to buy a car to impress a girl, right? Trying to impress the Joneses, trying to keep up with the Joneses, right? Trying to rock out at the stoplight with your new whip that costs $50,000 that you can't afford, right? You got you crying on your pillow at night, right? That's normal. What's weird? Weird is saving money when others are partying. Weird is when others are on vacation, you're saving money, putting money away and investing, right? Weird is when others are putting money on credit cards, you're paying with cash. You're paying with your debit card. You're paying with your emergency fund. You're paying the money's in your pocket. You're paying the money in your, bank account, clear and free, right? That's weird, right? Weird is growing money, right? Normal is broke. Normal is in debt. Normal is crying. Normal is frustrated. Normal is anxiety, anger, right? Which one you rather have? I had to be on the other side, guys. And that's one of the lessons I had to learn when it came to telling my money what to do. But I had to also understand that if I was going to get over this thing, I had to dissolve all those mixed messages I grew up with. And another great lesson I had to learn along the way, guys, was this one here, and I'm glad I did, is that money times money will almost always outpace you working for money, right? Putting time in for money, right? And I learned that the people who are winning with money, it's a very valuable lesson. People winning with money learn that and know that they want their money working for them, right? They know if their money works for them, that'll allow them time to go do the other things, right? So time is limited for us human beings because we can only live for so long. But if we do it the right way, our money will outpace us. Not only outpace us, but live after us, right? Will live on after us. And let's say, for example, you work a full-time job and you work 40 hours a week, you're most likely going to put in 2,000 hours or more in a year's time. You make $60,000. But let's say, for example, you want to invest money in the S&P 500, for example. The S&P 500 is the top 500 companies in the United States. Let's say you put $10,000 down and don't put anything else down. Let it ride out for 20 years, right? You don't put no more money down. $10,000, boom, that's it. And you let it ride, right? Let it ride out, right? Set it and forget it. Forget about it. Don't even touch it. You come back 20 years later, you got $67,000. That's the power of time times time working together, right? Interest over interest, timing itself, working together and compound interest. Meanwhile, what can you do, right? You're putting time in for money and wearing yourself out. So that's a great lesson I had to learn along the way, guys, is working smart. Still work hard. I still work hard to my process, but I developed that gene, that smart working gene, right? So, for example, the things I talked to you guys about earlier, understanding tax advantage accounts, for example, HSAs, 401ks, right? And how I can, get over in the process, right? I told you guys about earlier how I took my job benefits back in that 401k, that full-time job I had. I used my, PTO time to work, take vacation time off, and then work my vacation, creating two paychecks, for example. Thinking smart, right? Thinking smart, right? Putting my money in investments, and those investments are, potentially can grow. Nothing's guaranteed, but can potentially grow in my favor, right? Thinking smart, right? And so I had to understand that process, man. And the people who are winning with money going to get this concept, guys. I had to learn that. And I want my money to work while I'm asleep or work anytime I want in building me more money, going out and collecting more friends while it gives me time to go out and do other things, right? For example, creating other, income streams, right, for myself. And I'm glad I learned that lesson. Jesus will give me another one, guys, and this may offend some people out there. I ain't trying to offend. I just want you to comprehend is that for you religious people out there, people in the Bible, for example, people who are churchgoers, I ain't mad at you. Just because I'm not a church-going guy, I'm a spiritual person, but not necessarily a religious person. But all what I've heard in my life is Jesus will give me another one. Jesus will give me another one. I remember back in the day, one of the poems that I wrote during my process, when I didn't have great financial literacy, when I didn't understand myself, my money story, for example, I wrote a poem called Waiting for That Something to Show, right? Waiting for that something to show. I was waiting for a savior. I was waiting for money to fall out the sky. I was waiting for something to interject me with some knowledge, the spirit to change my life around. I was waiting for that something to come in my life. I was waiting for that something to infuse me with some kind of magic, for example, right? Guess what, guys? It never happened. It only happened when I got in that mirror and understand some of the lessons I just told you guys about. Understanding I had to learn the laws of money. I had to learn the laws of great financial health. Then guess what? I had to internalize it. I had to understand the I in me, right? I had to understand the God in me, right? The power in me to make my life work. My life was not going to work by staying on status quo. My life was not going to work by saying, oh, I'm just waiting for something to show. Jesus will give me another one. No one's going to get you another one, guys, unless you take action upon yourself to change your life. Understand the I in you so you can tell your money what to do. That's the only way it's going to work. And that's one of the great lessons I had to learn. I only learned that by being that mirror of change that I keep telling you guys about. Back in 2015, when I was in that mirror of change, that mirror of resolution, that mirror of slap in the face, that mirror of truth. Back in 2015, for 45 minutes, I learned that lesson. No one's going to come to save you guys. No one's going to come to save you. The president's not going to come to save you. Your mother's not going to come save you, right? Your friend's not going to come save you. Your cousin's not going to come save you. Your daughter's not going to come save you. The Easter Bunny's not going to come save you. Santa Claus not going to come save you. Jesus not going to come save you guys. And I that's hard for some of you guys to hear. And again, I ain't trying to defend anybody. I'm telling the truth, right? Just because I'm not being your space don't mean I'm not telling the truth, right? So do what you got to do. Everybody's different. I'm not here to put anybody down. I'm here to tell the truth about what I've learned. Your story, you may say something different. That's your financial health story. This is mine. Jesus gonna give me another one? Jesus ain't gonna give you nothing, guys, unless you do something for yourself. And what does that mean? What does that look like? You getting the knowledge, working hard, developing that smart work gene, right? And taking it in, blood, taking in all information, right? Become a sponge. You don't know every damn thing, right? And understand the I in you so you can tell your money what to do. And then it comes down to taking action, because that's what it's all about. Once you get in, take action. That's how I changed my life around, guys. That's how I changed my financial health around, to learn about financial literacy. I just took it from there. I learned all I could. I'm still learning. Nobody's perfect, right? In this financial health game, right? Just because I know some things now more than I did before, I still don't know it all. I still learn, but I'm still evolving, and that's great. That's the space you want to be in, right? Take it in, blood. And I'm glad I learned that lesson, man. And again, don't wait for anything. I learned the lesson in a hard way at 45 years old, that don't wait for nothing to show. You go out and make that dough and make it happen, right? And that's what it's all about, man. So if you're new to the channel, like what you heard, like the laws that are laid out there for great financial health, and the lessons I learned along the way, my personal specific lessons I learned along the way, you are welcome to share this information, this great financial health information, with someone you care and love. You believe they can use this information to their advantage long term. Who knows? Maybe you can too. K-2, as always, we've come too far to give up who we are. Let's take it to another level. Raise the bar. Only then can we toast to ancestor stars. Peace.